Well, maybe this is an ironic way to start, but about a year or so ago, I think you were traveling through the Northeast and you had an off day, and we brought you to one of our houses in New Haven, and we did like a living room concert, and we were kind of scrambling looking for a microphone because we wanted to record it. So we're like, oh, we can record this. And I remember, I don't think you were talking to me. I think you were talking to your friend who you were traveling with, but you said something to the effect of like, oh, these kids trying to record everything, not letting a moment be a moment. And what is your take on technology and the internet and trying to capture something?
It's such a wide question, but I think we are in an entirely different age. The technology has changed so quickly with the digital age, with music and cell phones and emails, all those things. We are swimming in a brand new world and we don't even know it really yet. Like, so much has changed the way we're digesting information and the amount of information we're around to carry around with us, or film, or things like the Abu Ghraib scandal happened purely because of the digital age, or like the fact that with emails we can communicate with the opposite sex in a way we've never communicated before. We've never had such a private zone before in the history of mankind, and that's in the last 10 years. And music, that used to take an entire house, and you were like, this is my record collection, is now in this little thing that if you lost it, you wouldn't even that post about it. So much has changed. So I just think it's amazing. But I have nothing against just recording it all too. But you'll never be able to digest it all, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even looking back on that night, what could have been, this moment that kind of came and went and was, it was what it was, ended up being something that I think we go back to, all the time. Like, that's a record, Sean Hayes Live in New Haven that,
Sure.
we made ourselves, and, that ended up being, one of our favorite records. So, like the pros and cons of letting something go and just kind of be what it is versus trying to capture it is.
It's both ways. It's funny because also now with YouTube, one of the things I kind of like about live performance is it's here today and it's gone tomorrow. So, you can get up there and make a fool of yourself. You can have a bad show, you can have a good show, but tomorrow everybody goes on with it. It's funny with YouTube now. It's every moment, you don't know, you could have had your worst moment in your life and tomorrow the whole world gets to see it. So it's quite a new world.
This is another kind of broad question, but about 15 years or so ago, you moved out to San Francisco. What drew you out there, and more importantly, what's kept you out there?
What drew me out there was romance for a woman and romance for the city itself, just pure, like San Francisco. I had grown up in North Carolina, so it seemed like, this whole other world. And my girlfriend, who on and off for years, had moved out there, so, and a whole group of friends had moved out there. So I moved out there. It was like 92, 93. And then that relationship shifted and changed around, and I stayed on with the city. I don't know how it's possible I've stayed out there. I've made it through like the .com insanity. I thought I was surely going to be spit out of the city because it's so expensive there. But I guess I really dig it there. It's a good town for me overall. It's kind of a little bit vortexy. Time doesn't seem to move in the same way as it does on the East Coast. When you're in New York City, you really have to have your stuff together. In San Francisco, I feel it's easier living. So time can go by and you just don't even know it. It's like, whoa, 15 years just went by. But I like it a lot.
Cool. Well, here's a kind of a personal question, and I say personal meaning that I've got some self-interest in this question. But as an artist and as a writer who is doing a lot of, your stuff independently, how do you decide when to move on and when to go to another record?
For me, I always feel like I've been behind the ball a lot, like really ready to make the record, but I don't have the money or the capabilities, the recording capabilities. So it's always been like, by the time I make the record, it's like I felt like I should have done it a year before. But then finally with Flowering Spade, I actually just had all the songs and felt like I had a little bit of money. So I just went for it, even though I'd made a record a year earlier. So, and there's a sense for me, like I'm just now starting to catch up with that whole idea of like you make a record and then you tour and you promote it, and it's all like, for me it's always just been one big ball of me. I've never been in that mode of like record cycles, and because it is just me, there's not a whole, I don't have to get 80 people in a record label behind me to send out stuff everywhere and get the whole machine working. It's just like, hey, look what I made. You want one? Do you want one? Okay. So it's just a really slow, different process, very, you know, backwards and swirly, rather than this like, you know, we got everything in place, now go, you know. So I'm just catching up with that whole idea too. I could do a quick flowering spade maybe. Do it soft. He has a flowering spade growing out of his chest, full of magic and healing. She is a flowering spade. As she moves and she sways, you can see that she feels it. She's off to dance with the goat boys. He's off to sail through your wide open ocean. She learned to sing from a siren. He learned to swim from a drop in the water. Hey, there are words, there are signs. Close your eyes, there's magic inside you. Hey, hear the sparks in your mind, building frames for to trace your desires. She learned to cook from a sailor. He learned to cry in an elephant circus. She found a recipe for flying. He's growing flowers to understand, dying rejoice. Bum 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 boom ba bum 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 boom ba bum 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 rejoice.